Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. In this video we're going to be reacting to an Air Force training video, specifically Air Force Security Forces. And if you're in the military or specifically infantry, then you've probably heard a lot of bad things about Air Force Security Forces, the ego. Yeah, apparently they have a bad tendency to think they're like infantry or they're like badass. In reality, what Air Force Security Forces is, it's kind of like military police, but they sort of do other things. They try and do like some general infantry training, and on top of that, they do like room clearing. So I'm hoping, looking at this training, maybe it does validate some of the stuff that they say. You know, maybe some of the training is pretty hardcore, but yeah, I guess we'll check it out. This is kind of like my first actual Security Forces training video that I've been trying to check out. So we'll see if they have any ground to stand on with you know, how badass they are. But if you're actually Air Force Security Forces and you have some insight, then you know, hit me up, and I'd love to see what it's actually like being in Air Force Security Forces and how people sort of think of themselves. But yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so that was interesting. So what they were doing in the beginning of the video is something called mock techniques, and this is something that a lot of military police end up training. I learned these techniques when I went through basic security guard school. Mock techniques, or mechanical advantage control holds, are basically techniques to allow someone who's like short or small or just weak in general to use mechanics to take down someone who's like big, like a big perpetrator or something. They sound cool, especially if you haven't done like hand-to-hand combat before, or like any other combatives or any like fighting style. It could be useful, but in reality it's not going to be useful, especially when you train those. You're training against someone who's not really fighting back, and you know, if you get someone who's actually fighting back, then mock techniques are pretty much useless. So yeah, that's just my take. Mock techniques are trash. So a lot of the stuff they're doing, it's just to build like a muscle memory of something you can do, but most of the time it's not going to work. But they were using a stun gun, and that's interesting. So a lot of times people will train with like rubber knives and whatnot, but with a stun gun, it sort of simulates like a knife attack. So you have a sensation of like pain or like a little stabbing in certain areas. So it allows you to have like stress inoculation, so like adding stress to your training. So that is a cool way to train. But I don't know what they're doing. They're kind of just kicking the person away and drawing a pistol, which, I mean, I guess it's a scenario you don't want to see yourself in. So it's cool to train like that, but that's kind of like a natural reaction to kick someone away and, you know, draw your pistol. So I'm not sure they really need to be training too much on that, but it's interesting.
Bruh.
Yo, homeboy was straight in the stack, holding a rifle up with one arm in the air. I don't know, I want to think it's impressive, but it's cool to like hold the person in front of you, like, because you see it in movies and whatnot all the time. But if you're holding a rifle in one arm in midair, you kind of just feel a little silly. There's a point where you should probably just stop holding on to the person in front of you and like grab your weapon. I get they're probably just like throwing random like training weapons, but come on, dude. And then the chick behind him is like just pointing her weapon over the dude in front of her, like pointing at this other stack. So I'm not sure what they're doing here. They have like pads set up as walls, so it's like hallway and like room clearing kind of training. but there's a lot of people, so this looks interesting. We'll see how this goes. Okay, so it went as poorly as I thought it would. There's like a conga line of people with weapons just pointing all over the place. And the one chick, she had her pistol pointed behind her, and she wasn't even like looking back there. So that's awesome. That's pretty dope. But yeah, they had like a conga line of people just going into this room, just like pointing weapons all over the place. So I don't know who the instructors are or what kind of training they have to go through, but that ain't it. That's all I can say. That was not it. I don't know if their strategy is to just like suffocate like every room with as many people and weapons as possible in a short amount of time as possible, but it's not a good strategy. Yeah, take my word for it. Okay. So one of my biggest pet peeves is a mag flip. So when someone has a rifle and they like flick it to get the magazine out when they're doing a reload, it's like super unnecessary most of the time. And a lot of times your magazine will just get stuck like sideways inside the magazine well. So not a fan when I see that. It's kind of something, again, it's something you see on like Call of Duty where like they aggressively like flip the rifle. And it's cool with some rifles, and you might see that with some magazines, but you can just get magazines that fit better. Like a lot of times, completely unnecessary. It's just like excess movement, just to like feel cooler. And a lot of these dudes are holding their magazine wells or their magazines, or their vertical grips like this. It's cool to train like that, but the instructors really should do a better job of teaching them like actually how to hold the rifle. When they actually start shooting and they're holding the magazine well or the vertical grip like that, it's going to be like super unstable, and their shooting is going to be like really sloppy. So it's kind of a shame to see that, but yeah, just take my advice. Hold the magazine, need to move like that, especially if you're doing CQB style stuff. And they're doing this weird thing where they're like peeling behind each other, which is like, I don't know what the point of that is. I don't know when you would use that inside an enclosure or really ever. Like in conventional infantry, you would like peel back if you're like breaking contact, but their job isn't going to be breaking contact. They're not going to be leaving an enclosure like that, especially like leaving a big room like that. Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the practicality in them doing that tactic. So. If you're in security forces and you have a better insight as to why people do that, let me know. Right now, it just seems like something they saw, and it seems like their instructors are like, they played Call of Duty and now they're just teaching them tactics they saw on Call of Duty. And I'm not trying to hate, but that's what it looks like. Again, these are like, they keep doing like that weird peel move, and I don't see the purpose in that. But the chicks were, there's like one chick and there's someone else on the other side of the hallway, grabbing the person in front of them, entering the room, so their weapon was down and they were holding onto the person. Yeah, I would not recommend that, because basically you're gonna be holding onto the person, he's gonna get lit up, and you're just gonna be holding on to a dude that's like all shot up, and your weapon's down, you're probably gonna start getting shot up too. So that's definitely not the move. Definitely don't enter a room with your weapon down, holding on to somebody. Just my advice. But yeah, it seems like there's a whole lot of people moving really quickly, and no one's really getting anything done. It's kind of like, it's like, hey, just get in these stacks and go through this enclosure. And like, as long as the instructors see people like pointing their guns in like general directions, they're like, yeah, it looks good. I don't know. I don't know what the instructor's doing or if there's like a bad like instructor-student ratio. But it seems like there's a lot of stuff that's not being corrected that should be getting corrected, and it's kind of a shame because especially in the U.S. military, when you have people training like this, they get a certain level of confidence in their training because they like feel badass, and it sounds like they're doing something badass. But when you actually need to like react to like maybe an active shooter or something, God forbid, and like you're going in like all hot-headed, like oh yeah, it's gonna be easy, and like stuff starts happening where you're like, okay, well this isn't what we trained on at all. You don't have any good like fundamentals to fall back on, so it's going to be a lot of sloppy tactics like this. Since it doesn't really seem like anyone's taking charge, and I get that it's training, but you still need someone to be like calling out the shots and just controlling people a little bit better. Because right now it just seems like you're pouring water inside of a building, except the water is people with guns. So that was cool. They all shot at the same time. So for choreography's sake, that was pretty cool. Again, I don't know why they're doing like that weird peeling off technique when they're just like all standing next to each other, and there's just like random targets out in like an open field, like they'd be getting lit up. So again, it seems like the instructor saw people doing that kind of stuff in like a movie or video game, and now they're like teaching like actually people in the military. They're teaching them these tactics. So it's very shocking to say the least that they're doing this kind of stuff. Very strange. All right. So you had the one chick when they're taking the bus. It's good to train like vehicles and whatnot. A lot of people don't consider clearing out a vehicle, but the chick was like smiling because like they're all running together in like a big group, like they're the Israeli Defense Forces taking out a bus. If you've seen those clips. But she's smiling, she like gets down, the dude like steps on her so he can clear the window out. And then the next clip you have like the dude with the canine like trips like over the dog, or he trips like on one of the steps when he gets in the bus. So it's like they're doing all this stuff because it like seems cool and they're doing it really quick. It's like the instructor's like, all right, so we're gonna do this, so go do it. And they go and do it. And he's like, okay, like how'd that feel? You just got a bunch of people running towards a bus like doing certain roles, but it's all like really sloppy. It looks kind of uncoordinated. I don't know. Again, it sounds like they're doing something cool, but yeah, I don't think that would work out too well. And then you had the one dude who had the pistol. He's like pushing people into the rooms. He pushes one guy into the room, and then like he goes and pushes another guy into the room, and he's like still holding on to him. Yeah, I don't know. They do things very quick. It seems like I get like with security forces and with active shooters, like tactics sort of change a little bit when there's like a potential hostage or whatnot. But when you're like that point, when you're to the point where you're like pushing people into rooms, like holding on to people as you're entering a room, like you gotta just slow down and think about yourself for a second. Like, do I really want to be doing this? Because if I do this and there's actually a person with a gun, he's probably gonna win. So you gotta think about self-preservation at a certain point. Okay, so in that last little bit, we had there's a lot of people. There was probably like 10. There's like 10 people and like a canine going into this like building. So yeah, I don't know. They have a lot more people than they should be, especially with how fast they're moving. Because when you're moving that quick, trying to take everything at once, again, yeah, for like hostage scenarios, it's good. But once you like take like one casualty, like everyone's gonna be like, oh crap, like what do we do now? There's gonna be like a dude who gets shot, and they're gonna have like they're just gonna keep like going throughout the building. Like I don't know, it just seems like very uncoordinated. So it just seems like they need a little more command and control. They need they might have time restraints, so they just need more time to focus on like the fundamentals, primarily like shooting. It's cool to go like through a room, but like you need to have confidence in your abilities to shoot. Like it's cool you can like shoot really fast, but like when you're inside of the building, you need to be able to shoot accurately. And shooting fast isn't necessarily going to be beneficial if the person inside the room can just shoot you like once, you know, if they're accurate. So they need to like shift their focus on more on the fundamentals and like really slow down and sort of start it like when you're doing like any room clearing, you start with like 2 people and move up from there. But it seems like with what they're doing, they're just starting off with like as many people as possible and just like as many repetitions as possible, doing it very quick. But they're not really good repetitions. So my advice with them, with Air Force Security Forces, at least with this training, just they need to slow down, focus on the fundamentals, and get some better instructors. If you're going to be training room clearing or any aspect like hand-to-hand combat, like you can get someone who specializes in that. It doesn't seem like these instructors are really too. It seems like the instructors are just people who have gone through this training previously, and maybe they get like a refresher. So get someone who specializes in that specific field. That's my recommendation. But again, if you are Air Force Security Forces and you know this training isn't really up to par with what you've done or doesn't seem realistic, you know, let me know. I understand media, like stuff that goes on YouTube. You have like a media person who might be in charge of it, and they don't necessarily know what looks good or like what good training is supposed to look like. So they might not necessarily edit it a certain way. So maybe I'm just seeing the bad parts. I don't know. But if you're Air Force Security Forces or Air Force in general or know someone who is, then by all means hit me up. Maybe send me a video that's more realistic potentially to what y'all do. But yeah, if you guys have any videos in general, then feel free to send them my way, and I'll check them out, because it's definitely interesting to see how some people do some certain things. But security forces, if you're gonna have the ego and say you're basic infantry, you gotta step it up a little bit. Come on. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It was cool checking it out. But yeah, I'll see y'all in the next video.